was the 7th person voted out of Survivor Bloomsburg Season 2? So Claire, you tied for 2nd place in Survivor Bloomsburg Season 1. What made you want to play again in Season 2?
For me, it was always about the game. It was never about the reward or the end final prize. I love the game of Survivor. I love being competitive, but also meeting new people in the process. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. Was it was a nice way to put myself out there and be more social than I have been in the past.
So what new strategy or gameplay did you think about as you knew you were coming back into the game as a strong returner who outwitted and outlasted at least 21 other players last season?
I think strong returner is a bold statement. I think that was luck that I made it that far. Everyone who asks me, how did you get to that final position? It was pure luck. I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't know, I think the biggest thing for me was coming in knowing I was a returner. I knew that more people would look at me, but I knew there were other returners. I kind of, beforehand, was able to start getting a list of who was returning. So because I knew that, and I knew there were other players who were probably bigger threats than I was, that I could kind of play the same game, but I also had to take a step back. I think I learned from my mistakes last season, learned from the areas that people saw were issues, and I was able to change them.
And so you said you were making a list as you were anticipating returning for Season 2 and whatnot. How early did that list start, and what made you start that list?
That list started when I had heard that another returner had applied. At that point, I was still uncertain if I was going to apply or not for Season 2. I really debated it.
Who was that returner?
Jack. So at that point, I had heard that Jack applied. No one knew if he was in. At that point, no one knew if they were in. But I heard about that, and I kind of weighed my options there, and I decided to go for it. Like I said, I wasn't certain if I was going to, and I said, why not? And then once I got the confirmation, it was send a text to other people who I knew applied and said, did you get in? And that list just kept growing. Sometimes it was me reaching out to people, and sometimes it was people reaching out to me. But before I knew it, I had a strong list of returners. I knew there were 9 returners this season, and I knew 8 of them definitely, with the one that I didn't know being a possibility, a strong possibility.
Of the 3 skills in the game, physical, mental, and social, what was your greatest strength that you feel like you exhibited?
I would say mental and social. I would say they kind of go hand in hand in a sense. Mental, you could think of it as like logic puzzles and things like that, but you could also think of that of wording and your wording choices while being social. How do I talk to a person? What words do I want to use to convey what I want to be known without saying, okay, she came up with that idea. I'm not pointing fingers type thing. So I think that was the biggest thing.
So let's go back down memory lane again. So you started out on Red Shenango in Season 1 and Green Gator here in Season 2. Tell us about how this season's team compared to Season 1 for you.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. I must not get along with other females as well as I thought. I don't think it's necessarily anything that anyone does wrong. I know I always try to go in very open-minded, and I think the fact that I was willing to approach some of the male castaways and kind of step outside of the box was something that was immediately seen as a threat. Obviously, it didn't go well with Shenango. They turned on me, week 2? And same thing for Gators. The girls were ready to vote me out week 2. After they're like, no, we're good. This is a girls' game. Like, we're locked in with the girls. We got to get the guys out first. Okay, then why do you say my name? And the biggest thing was, I think it came down to the fact that I just had too many conversations with too many people.
So, before the game even began, you started playing and earned a clue for a pre-game advantage. Tell us about the hunt for the treasure chest and what all went down.
The hunt for the treasure chest. Okay, so that was the Sunday before premiere, and I was in my apartment prepping for school the next morning when I got a text from GK saying, "Congratulations, you get a clue." And I'm like, "You can't be doing this to me. It's 8 o'clock at night." So I didn't really know what to do there, but I knew at least one other Castaway had gotten the clue that was said in the message. And the biggest thing for me was, last season, I didn't find anything. So this season, I wanted to find something. That was the biggest thing. I didn't care what it was, I wanted to find something. So I went for it. I knew the location, I was able to find it, and I went for it. And I later found out that I knew who the other Castaway was who got it.
In episode 1, you found a clue to a hidden immunity idol in your purple pre-game first impressions advantage folder. Tell us about that moment and what happened.
So I'm pretty sure I was the last one to sit down in that challenge, that folder thing. I think I was the last one in the room, the last one to find a chair. And that was the only chair open, so I sat down. I had no idea. So I guess that adds to the pure luck aspect of things. It was difficult because of trying to find my picture, trying to find the pictures of who I wanted to circle, and then also seeing that and thinking, who else has this? And I did notice that there was a clue in a folder next to me. I couldn't tell if it was both sides or just the one side, so I do know someone else got that clue. But for me it was, okay, if I can take this, I need to take it and figure it out from there.
So if you had won Gaga Ball in episode 1 and had become a team captain, who would have been some players you would have recruited for your team in that episode and why?
Ooh. I probably would not have gone for Jake. As happy as I am that we were able to work together again, I think putting the first place from season 1 with the second place was a dangerous move for many reasons. I probably, believe it or not, would have gone for Carlos still. That was a move that I had tried saying to Aaron of like, this player could be a good thing. And that was more so for my numbers because I had met Carlos in searching for the treasure chest. So Carlos and I already had talked a little bit, and while I knew they were a very social player, I also thought, okay, having the numbers on your side isn't a bad thing.
So speaking of Carlos, your Gator team went to the very first tribal council and voted out Carlos. Thoughts about that decision?
Well, I was part of that decision. I think the biggest thing was they were very social. Night 1, you really didn't get the opportunity to show your strengths. Okay, we played Gaga Ball, you got your team captains, there's a physical aspect. But, like, for my portion of that challenge was returning beanbags to the other side. I didn't do anything other than return beanbags. So, was I really that much of an asset to the team? I felt like that was kind of where things were there. And I think Carlos just being the person that they are, being that social, friendly, very talkative, in some aspects it could have been seen as a threat more than anything. They might not have been able to show their physical capabilities yet, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there, and they had that social aspect nailed down. So it just became one of those things where that's who everyone ended up going for. And I had told them that people were saying their name. I wasn't going to be that person who completely blindsided. That is one thing I stuck true with from season 1 was transparency. Usually when I voted for a person and I voted against them, they knew it before the votes were read. That was my biggest thing there, and it was too early to throw a random vote out there and throw a random name.
From episode 2, tell us about your experience with the challenges. Excuse me. Tell us about your experience with the challenges from capture the flag to the relay and the tug of war dual knockout. The highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows. Well, in that time period, I played an idol, so I don't know if that's considered a high or a low. Capture the flag was interesting. I mean, overall, Python just had us beat. No matter what method we tried, that's what they were doing. They were the stronger group there. So it was very unfortunate that we had to go to tribal so soon. And Lauren got voted out again, which first returner to go, which is unfortunate because in both seasons she didn't make it overly far. But unfortunately. That's how things go. And then with the next challenge, going to tribal again. That one was a bit more nerve-wracking. It was a lot more scrambling because the people that you thought, okay, these might be the next people to go, the other team picks up on that. And those are the people they're going to send on the journey. So that's the people they sent on the journey. So now it's, okay, who are we going to vote out? And you don't really know what numbers you have on your side. I mean, even with being with 2 returners at that point, because I was with Anthony and Jake. I had only talked to Jake. I hadn't talked to Anthony at that point. So it was a bit more nerve-wracking. So very thankful. Father Joe, as we call him, was really the driving force that made us not have to go to tribal for a 3rd time that night.